Morning guys, so I wanted to show you how it is you can take free food or bad food or old food storage and turn it into free food for chickens, ducks, pigs. It works particularly well for pigs in the wintertime, especially if you're in a cold area. So these are mung beans and garbanzo beans. In here was wheat, and what I did is I soaked it and then I put it in the pressure cooker. And it's just like people food. If you soak it, it absorbs more water. It makes it more digestible for the animals. But what's really, really important for beans, especially old beans, is to use a pressure cooker when you cook. Sorry, I'll switch to the other side. There, better lighting. Use a pressure cooker. The reason for that is beans can be hard to digest, and especially old beans don't really soften down that well. But with a pressure cooker, instead of having to have it sit on there and cook for 8 hours and still not get cooked, you bring it up to pressure, you make it stay at pressure. I think it's 45 minutes if I remember correctly. And then you turn it off. You don't force depressure it, you let it pressure down. And then what was a quarter full is now completely full. Make sure you had enough liquid in it. And it's not pounds of pressure in one of these cookers the same way it is with a canner. You can use your canner to pressure cook food, but I find these to be much more convenient and much more manageable size. But we've received tons and tons and tons, being literal, tons of free food from people on Craigslist or family or farmers. And if the grain is dirty, if that's what you're getting is dirty like chaff grain, I don't bring it in the house. I soak it outside, but generally that's not beans. If you have something that's barley or rye or wheat, that you can just soak and you don't need to pressure cook it. With the beans you do. It can actually poison them if you don't. Especially kidney beans. You need to make sure that beans are fully, soybeans, kidney beans, any kind of beans, fully cooked. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, we've received many tons of food off of Craigslist and free. You store it out in the garage in 5-gallon buckets or in big 50-gallon drums with the lid on. You can do that in dry areas. I'm not sure what happens in wet areas. Deep South Homestead said that they can't store food for more than a few weeks because it starts to mold and mildew. Traditionally, what they used to do was a corn crib where you'd have a building that had air circulation through it, big slats. So you'd put the corn in whole, and it would mean that the air could flow through it. The cobs, because they weren't, the kernels hadn't been taken off. The cobs would also create spacing inside the corn crib to allow air to circulate through so that it wasn't molding. So traditionally in the South, that's how they would store it, and that's why they needed cats and little dogs, was to keep rats and mice out of the corn crib. So that might be something you might want to look into if you're looking to grow your own feed, or if you're in the South and you're frustrated about not being able to keep grain. Maybe you have a room in your house that you could put a dehumidifier into to be able to have big 5-gallon buckets of grain. I don't know if they mildew in the 5-gallon buckets the same way they do in feed sacks. So hopefully that's helpful. I find that as long as I have free-range chickens, I do not have to have special retail store feed that is balanced. They balance their feed themselves as long as they can be free-range, need some bugs, need some weeds. If they are in close confinement, you probably do need retail feed, but I almost never buy it for them unless they're producing really heavy, or if I have animals that I'm trying to get to butcher weight very quickly. So I think this cost me about $75. This is my favorite one. It is Fagor, and it's lasted us for 8 years or something, and it's just amazing. And hopefully that's helpful to you. We also have the Sun Oven over on the Etsy store, my other favorite way to cook. Today we're going to put a rabbit in the Sun Oven and set it out on the deck and let it cook for lunch. Very easy, very simple. These are my summer solutions because I don't want to heat the house up in the winter. It's of course the wood burning stove because I can cook while heating the house. And so yeah, totally wood burning stove in the winter. But in the summer, you kind of want to keep it cool. So you want something like the pressure cooker in the Sun Oven to keep your cook time down. So hopefully that was helpful, and we will talk to you later.